Johnson was far more public with his offer of security guarantees, traveling to both Sweden and Finland to sign mutual security agreements that said if either country faced an attack or disaster, they would assist each other in a variety of ways, which might include military means. At a press conference held at the presidential palace in Helsinki after the signing, Niinistö was asked about Russian retaliation if Finland joins NATO. If that would be the case, then my response would be, "You caused this. Look in the mirror," Niinistö said, directing his response at Putin, his old friend. When Finland's President Niinistö and Prime Minister Sanna Marin announced on May 12th that Finland would officially seek to join NATO, the Kremlin immediately accused Finland of turning its territory into a new line of military confrontation with Russia. Russia will be forced to take retaliatory steps, both of a military, technical, and other nature, in order to stop the threats to its national security, the Russian Foreign Ministry warned. Helsinki must be aware of the responsibility and consequences of such a move. 2 days later, Niinistö called Putin and broke the news directly. Finland was joining NATO. Putin was calm, surprisingly muted in his objection. He said it was a mistake, Niinistö reported, that Finland was not under any threat. Like clockwork, Sweden then announced publicly its intention to join NATO, breaking its 73-year policy of military non-alignment. On the same day, NATO launched one of its largest military exercises in the Baltic region, involving some 15,000 troops from 10 countries, 8 NATO countries, and Sweden and Finland. The exercise, called Hedgehog, took place in Estonia, 40 miles from Russia's nearest military base, and simulated a Russian attack on that nation, getting into Putin's face dramatically. Meanwhile, across Europe, from the north to the Balkans, NATO exercises kicked into gear with 18,000 troops in Poland, helicopter exercises in North Macedonia, and 3,000 Allied troops and 1,000 vehicles, including German Leopard 2 tanks, in Lithuania. The message to Putin was clear. Finland formally became a member of NATO with the Article 5 protection on April 4th, 2023, adding 832 miles to Russia's border with NATO. It was a momentous transformation in Finland's foreign and security policy. Turkey and Hungary initially blocked Sweden's accession to NATO, but on March 7, 2024, Sweden also finally became a full member. One weekend after the invasion, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina was at Mar-a-Lago to play golf and have dinner with Trump. Going to Mar-a-Lago is a little bit like going to North Korea, Graham said. Everybody stands up and claps every time Trump comes in. So I come in behind him and I get a standing ovation, Graham said. He assumed it was for his comments about Putin. I've been saying get rid of Putin. If you have to kill him, he said. In a March 4th interview on Fox News, Graham had declared that Russians should assassinate President Putin. He followed it with a post on social media. The only way this ends is for somebody in Russia to take this guy out. You would be doing your country and the world a great service, Graham said. The comments caused a brief firestorm. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was quick to clarify this was not the position of the United States government. Kremlin Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov hit back by suggesting Graham was insane. Unfortunately, in such an extremely tense atmosphere, there is a hysterical escalation of Russophobia. These days, not everyone manages to maintain sobriety. I would even say sanity, and many lose their minds. Graham downplayed his comments to others at Mar-a-Lago. I don't think it's fascinating, Graham said. I mean, would anybody doubt that they'd have been better off if the Germans had gotten rid of Hitler? During dinner that evening, Trump and Graham talked about the threat of Putin using nuclear weapons in Ukraine. We can't let him get away with that, Trump said. We've got a bigger military. We've got deadly submarines. I would have submarines going up and down the coast of Russia saying, "We're watching you." "Why can't we get involved?" Trump asked Graham. "Why do we let the planes fly?" Graham realized Trump was wondering about why the U.S. hadn't set up a no-fly zone to stop Russian planes from entering Ukraine's airspace. Zelensky was pleading for Biden to close the skies. Biden had repeatedly refused. He did not want a situation where U.S. or NATO forces would have to take out Russian planes. That could too quickly escalate into World War III. Everybody felt the Russians would roll through Ukraine in about a week and do some kind of peace deal, and that'd be that, Graham said. Well, the Ukrainians are fighting like tigers. Zelensky has become the Churchill of his time, and the Russians are in a world of hurt. They actually could lose this. They could actually lose this military engagement if we could do better in the air. The next morning, Graham played 9 holes with Trump, who was now golfing 5 times a week. Some of the caddies came up and asked for a photo, not with Trump, but with Graham. The caddies want to get rid of Putin too, Graham joked to Trump. But the former president was no longer paying attention. He was fixated on the caddies, as if suddenly realizing being tough with Putin was popular. On March 5th, during a fundraiser in New Orleans with top GOP donors, Trump suggested that the U.S. should label its F-22 planes with the Chinese flag and then bomb the shit out of Russia. And then we say, China did it. We didn't do it, China did it. And then they start fighting with each other, and we sit back and watch, he said almost gleefully. The crowd laughed. '31. In Poland, surrounded by huge crates of humanitarian aid for Ukraine, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was asked about America's goals for the war. "We want to see Russia weakened to the degree that it can't do the kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine," Austin said, adding that Russia has already lost a lot of military capability and a lot of its troops, quite frankly. A signal that America's goalposts had shifted beyond helping Ukraine defend itself. Biden now wanted to decisively blunt Russia's ability to threaten Europe. 2 days later, on April 26th, Austin convened a Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Defense ministers from 40 countries debated what assistance, training, and advice should be provided to Ukraine. What should NATO's involvement look like? Ukraine's defense minister, Alexei Reznikov, was energized by the meeting and updated Zelensky of a tectonic philosophical shift in NATO's approach to Ukraine. NATO membership was not a consideration, but the alliance had committed to supply Ukraine's military with NATO weapons, training, and intelligence as if they were a team. By invading Ukraine, Putin had massively accelerated precisely what he feared. Ukraine would become a highly capable NATO-standard fighting force backed by the most powerful military alliance in the world.